I recently took one of the coolest opportunities of my whole career. I was one of 10 photographers from around the world to go and photograph Andalucia, the southern part of Spain, to capture images for both a photo book and a documentary about the region. I had 5 days and free rein to photograph whatever caught my eye. This was an absolute dream project and a week I'll never forget. Woo! But let me bring you back to the beginning. We woke up to gray skies and a light drizzle. We traveled to our first destination, but not without stopping for a quick bite to eat. Something that would become typical, churros and coffee. We had a powwow about our day since the forecast showed total cloud coverage or total rain. That infamous Spanish sun was not ready to come out and play just yet. As you can tell, Osuna on a rainy day is incredibly quiet. Every street I turned down was virtually empty, making it feel like a ghost town or a movie set.
Full-blown rain.
Yep.
Okay. Here we go.
I guess I should have thought about some waterproof gear.
Yep.
Perfectly enough, though, there was a few frames left on a roll of black and white that was already in my camera, so the first mission was to get through those. Without any interesting light, though, black and white ended up being the perfect fit for this moody and flat day. I was already feeling very jet-lagged and very tired, so that mixed with the less than ideal lighting and weather, I knew that the only way to approach this day was to take it slow, take the pressure off, and use it almost like a warm-up day. One of my biggest goals for the week was to see every location by foot, as much as humanly possible anyway. So we did a lot of walking. I think we averaged about 13 miles a day once it was all said and done, which made me so happy because I'm such a big believer in walking around, not only to get to know a new place, but also just for photography's sake. By foot, you catch so much, getting from point A to point B that you would definitely miss otherwise.
Test, 1, 2. We in the van. We about to go to church, even though it's Wednesday.
And if that wasn't a reminder enough, I'm so jet-lagged at this point that I'm starting to wonder who I am, where I am, and why I'm even there. I mean, look at this. I can't even figure out the door. There we go. We're just gonna rip 400D. And portrait 800. I'd finished up the black and white roll, and so it was time to reload my Nikon with some color and sort of switch gears. And it also felt like the right time to load up the RZ67 that I lugged all the way here until I realized there's no take-up spool. Why is there no spool in my back? You have to be kidding me. How does that even happen? I have 2 backs. I wonder if it's just in the other one. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. So, yeah, no take-up spool and no brain power to come up with a solution. I get there, I promise. It takes me embarrassingly long, but until then, I just decided to shoot 35 and digital at our first official stop, a cathedral with a phenomenal view overlooking Osuna. With a gray blanket for a sky, I had no choice but to keep on keeping on, no matter how badly I wanted to wait for the sun here. But the next sight was nothing short of amazing. It dated so far back, my brains were nearly scrambled when I heard the number, making it all the more amazing to see and experience. This is one of those places that I just immediately knew I wasn't going to be able to do justice with a camera. So instead, I just sort of focused on being there in real life. The reason photography is so enjoyable and sort of soothing for me has a lot to do with the time that my camera's actually down like this. The time taken to pursue the next photograph is just as important and enjoyable as making it. And that is not the only brilliant thought that came to me in this magical ancient cave.
Okay, all is well, because I can just sacrifice a roll and just use the spool as my take-up spool. So, this is now a sacrificial ceremony.
Okay, this is gonna feel wrong, look wrong, but we gotta do it.
We just have to close our eyes and pretend it's not happening.
But we gotta do it.
Close our eyes and pretend it's not happening.
But we gotta do it. So that was honestly really horrible, and I'm so sorry you had to see that. But I can't lie, at this point I'm honestly so relieved that I have a solution to be able to shoot this camera. It produces such a nice image, which is why I was willing to break my back to bring it here. And even though I was incredibly impatient to shoot this camera, I decided to actually save this roll I loaded for the following day. Since the light outside was really dropping quick, the weather was getting worse, and I still had some frames to finish off in my other camera anyway. With absolutely no resemblance of a sunset, we called it a day fairly early so we could get some much needed rest and reset for the next day, which would be much more high-paced and demanding. Osuna ended up being a beautiful, peaceful gift at the beginning of a lovely week. The second day was my day to be with the documentary crew, who was spending every day with a different photographer in a different place. We started bright and early before the sun even came up at Plaza de España, which you will definitely recognize if you are a true Star Wars fan. This place is completely magnificent and breathtaking in real life, and it was so peaceful to be here essentially alone. I learned it's a quite popular and busy spot normally, so seeing it like this was particularly special. I, of course, though, was holding out hope that I would get some sunshine here, especially with all of the delicious shadows this architecture would make. But alas, the gray blanket held strong. Because the light was really not improving, we spent a lot of our time here filming for the documentary and getting those long, quiet takes. Next, we went into the heart of Sevilla, which is a big city and a huge contrast to sleepy Osuna. Our first stop was the famous mushroom structure, ironically built to provide shade from the strong Spanish sun I'm still waiting to meet. We tried our best to cover every inch of this place, hunting for interesting lines and shapes and ways to layer, since there are so many vantage points of both the structure itself and the city below. And then just like that,
finally, what felt like an absolute miracle, the sun.
This is the first time the sun has even slightly peeked out from behind the clouds. So I have been really needing to rely on interesting lines and, using layering and all the tricks out of the bag, basically, to make these really cloudy photos interesting the last couple of days. But now the sun it's just a slight amount coming through the clouds. We don't have full sun by any means, but even just the smallest amount of light can create so much more dimension.
The good light seemed to give me a healthy dose of energy, so I went back out onto the street where the crowds were to see if I couldn't get a street portrait.
This is gonna be one we wait for.
What do you see?
When people walk in front of me, they're like right here, and they're out of focus.
Yes.
So I just need an interesting character to walk by. Semi-close to my camera, which people are definitely avoiding.
Yeah.
See, like him, or like these two. Come on.
Should I ask him?
No.
What didn't actually happen?
Yeah, because I want him walking.
This shot ended up taking a while, and the cameras were not rolling at the moment I got it. But oh man, I knew it when I got it. It felt so good. It felt like my first real confident shot of the trip, and my first possible contender for the photo book. That, mixed with the sunshine, energized me even more.
Let me know the shot you're going to take.
I don't love it.
Now I get all the buzz about the sunshine here. It really kind of is in its own category. What's that saying they say, when the light gets good, go inside? No? No one's heard that one? Yeah, it was lunchtime, unfortunately. But we did not eat just anywhere. We ate inside the oldest bar I've certainly ever been to. It opened in 1670. 1670. Wild.
Right here. Oh,
Yes,
so thank you. It's a little hectic inside this bar.
After lunch and drinks and enjoying the ambiance in here, I was desperately hoping the light was still good outside. I loaded up the Mamiya and, to my surprise, was hit with this sight right as I exited the bar. Look at that color. There was so much more to see in this city, so we got to walking, and walking, and walking. And then that walking eventually led me to this man sitting outside of a restaurant who kindly let me take his portrait. I absolutely adored walking around this city. I'd love to actually spend an entire week doing just that. There's so much happening, so much life, so much color. Truly just so much to see. The narrow streets make for fantastic leading lines, and when we happened upon a local carnival, I took a couple shots I ended up loving more than I thought I would. The clouds were starting to cover up our big blue sky again, so we ended up hitching a ride to our last location to try and catch some light from the top of La Giralda, a huge tower inside of a cathedral where you get a crazy 360 view of all of Sevilla.
With no color in the sky and lots of gating and bars covering up the views, I decided to just look with my eyes for a bit up here. Another one of photography's perks. I managed to sneak my lens through a couple of the gates to get these shots, which were well worth it. Otherwise, I would have left here with nothing. But I must admit, these were sort of a fun challenge for me. This shot on the way back down ended up being my favorite of the bunch this evening because there was finally some color in the sky, and I just so happened to be able to shoot right through the gate to get a centered composition. And that was a lovely wrap on a big day 2, and I hadn't even hit my stride yet. Like when we're walking around that alleyway. I should have known after that sunrise that I was going to absolutely fall in love with Cadiz.
Oh yeah, I'm sniping right here. Absolutely sniping.
Cadiz is a warm coastal city with salty, humid air and some of the best light I have ever seen in my whole entire life.
Wow. Look how blinding. Now we don't even know how to handle the sun when it's out. It's like, I'm melting.
We had the day to just simply get lost in this insanely photogenic maze of a place. Ugh, all the lines and the light and the color, I was in heaven just wandering and wandering and wandering these streets. My medium format camera is a bit of a slower camera to use, so I have to be really patient with it, especially out on the street, which is why I want to show you this clip in real time, uncut, even though it is quite long. You can see I just flagged down Joshua, who's filming me, because I wanted him to keep the camera rolling, since I felt like I might find a frame here. I wanted to fish, something I like to do out on the street, especially with cameras that slow me down. It gives you the time, or the illusion of time, to find your frame and get focused up, and then be ready for something to pass through that window. You can see just how long this can end up taking. I'd been waiting for the right person to come through, and what do you know? Cadiz was actively blowing me away at every turn I took, and I was starting to really feel like I was in a flow. So I finally built up the courage to start asking people for their portrait on the street in Spanish.
Yo, the height difference of you two is insane.
Oh, midget.
And there I go. I'm off like a little baby bird from the nest. And I did great, I won't lie, but here's where I go wrong. I panic because I'd been thinking so much about how to say, "May I please take your photo?" in Spanish, that I never looked around to plan for where I might want this person to stand for their portrait. I shouldn't have put them in the direct light with that downwards facing shadow. But you live and you learn. And this was still a win because I nailed my Spanish. After all that, I honestly really worked up an appetite. So I stopped into a little corner store for some sustenance, and then I literally just sat in a tree and ate an orange. Amazing. All juiced up on vitamin C, I was ready to get back at it. And right away, boom, the gift of a very stylish, adorable couple right in front of me. So I worked up the courage again and walked right up and asked them for a photo too. In this very moment, I did not think that this photo would end up as a possible potential for the photo book, but I absolutely love how this one turned out. We used the afternoon to, of course, take photos, but to also scout where we would want to end up for sunset, since we knew it was going to be a killer one. As we sat for a much needed break for our feet and a tapas lunch, I finally had my first sip of Spanish wine, and we got to chatting with the neighboring table. They were a riot, and so I ended up taking some portraits of all of them while we waited for our food. After a delicious and very social lunch, we did some more aimless wandering and found this fruit stand, who basically asked me to take its photo. The light was starting to get soft and golden on the beach, so we walked up and down the promenade. I think I really found my groove this evening. The light was stellar, I felt focused, the city was alive. You just really can't ask for more. A couple of these frames definitely felt like book potentials too. And now enjoy some of the quiet evening ambiance from Cadiz. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. After deciding to stay in Cadiz for an extra day, we took the morning slow, and I chose to enjoy some coffee and the sound of the ocean from my balcony. I also needed to sort of take inventory of my film since I'd shot quite a lot the day before and I didn't quite know what I had left. I definitely wanted to make sure that I had enough for the rest of the trip, so I took the time to organize and count everything out. 800 and HP5. I was not quite done with Cadiz just yet, so we headed right back into the city for more shooting and snacks and perusing. We ended up right in the middle of a fish market, and I didn't have my light meter on me at the very moment, so I used my best backup option. I spotted someone for a portrait, but had to do quite a lot of waiting for the right moment. And I do mean a lot of waiting. Here, let me spare you. You can even see me losing my patience there a little bit. So I ended up repositioning, but that actually ended up being the best thing for me because this new spot made for a much better frame in the end, and I got this guy's eye contact, which you obviously can't beat. Waited a while for that one. Feels good.
Well, you got you. Well, you got your diamond.
I actually opted into ditching my itinerary and coming to this town because yesterday I took a portrait of a very charismatic guy on the streets, and he invited us to his town where we are now to basically take portraits of the people here. And so he's kind of gathering everybody up that he can. So we are going to get some film portraits, we're gonna get digital portraits of everyone, and looks like we're gonna sit down and have some lunch too. So a pretty pleasant surprise, this stop.
Don't trip.
My new friend didn't waste one moment of time, and we got right to meeting people. Everyone was so warm and kind and open to me and all of my cameras, and so I tried to get a film portrait of everyone I could amidst the chaos. I felt like I walked into a group of new friends. It was a really amazing afternoon. Everyone was talking about what we were having for lunch, and I got to go take a look at it back in the kitchen. A delicious, hearty stew cooked in this gigantic pressure cooker for hours and hours. It's a weekend delicacy around here. It's something that clearly brings everyone together. I couldn't wait to see for myself how good this stew really was.
Oh. Garbanzo. That's very good.
Oh, I love it.
Ah, bueno, Cadiz.
I actually ended up having 2 servings. Being able to take a few hours and just take portraits of local people was my happy place. No doubt about it. I love how all of these came out, but I more so loved the experience of being here with these people. And I'm extremely grateful that they were willing to let me get nice and up close to them for these photos. I love how they came out, but I must say this last one has probably got to be my favorite. The afternoon light started to get quite golden, so we decided to see what was over on the beach. We're going to do this last day a little differently. I'm going to walk you through this day with only photos because the footage of this day was unfortunately on a memory card that got lost in Spain. So devastating, but the show must go on. So, my final day of shooting. What a remarkable landscape. I had no idea there was terrain like this in Spain. I would turn one way and I'd be like, am I in Italy? And then I'd turn another way and be like, nope, it's Greece. And then another way and it's like Germany. What a charming, charming place this is. Midday, we traveled to what would end up being our final location, Ronda. The views driving into this place were insane. We actually pulled over a couple of times. Andalucia was just continuing to blow me away.
we spent the last bit of light in the evening below the infamous bridge to get our final frames. That's my last frame. Wow. What a week! I will never forget this beautiful week in Andalucia. It is truly an incredibly special place, and there is so much more I want to see now. I want to thank everybody who made this possible. Joshua, the man behind the camera all week filming this video for me. Thank you so much for your amazing company and for the insanely beautiful footage you got. Seeing how you saw Andalucia actually ended up teaching me a lot about myself and how I see, and that is a gift. Thank you to Justin, our lovely driver, for safely getting us around, but also translating and just being a source of knowledge and pure joy all week. Also, I have to thank the kind internet stranger who went and actually checked the last known location of our memory card for us. You are an absolute hero. And last but certainly not least, thank you to Hidden Light Film Lab in Flagstaff, Arizona, for developing and scanning all of this film. It was a massive undertaking, and I seriously appreciate your work. I feel luckier than ever to do what I do. So thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't had enough Andalucia just yet, here is some bonus footage from my first day on the ground, where I got to hang out with some of the other photographers and explore Malaga a little bit before my shooting itinerary began.
So cold and moody.
Oh, the mood.
You good?
Oh my god, that's a real person. Holy silver.
Good shot.